Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mariako, and yes, I am still alive. We'll touch on that very briefly at the end, but today I wanted to make a quick video discussing the upcoming Minecraft Live mob vote. There seems to be a tremendous amount of misunderstanding floating around the options we've been shown this time, and in the past a lot of people miss out on even knowing this is a thing until it's already happened, so I figured I would do my small part in clarifying things. For anyone who is still unaware, the Minecraft Live 2021 event is happening on Saturday, October 16th at noon EST. That's 12 p.m. Eastern Time here in the US, or 4 p.m. UTC. There will be links in the description to where the stream will be, as well as more info on the time. If you're watching this video on the day it releases, which is hopefully the case, the event is going to be tomorrow. Short notice, I am aware. For anyone who is able to log on to Twitter while the event is going on, you will be able to vote on which of the 3 new mobs is going to be added to the game. Much like the last several Minecraft votes, the winner will be added to the next update, while the losers are relegated back to the maybe later pile. A dark place that none of the suggestions from previous votes have managed to escape to this day. So in order to make sure you fully understand the impact of these choices, I'm going to give a brief overview of each one based on what little we've been told so far, and then I'll go back through and give a slightly more elaborate look at their potential uses. Do keep in mind that all 3 of these mobs are still conceptual and do have the potential to change quite a bit in the future, but let's begin by looking at what we have so far. The first mob revealed was the Glare, a small, floating, shrub-like entity that does not like the dark. Players will be able to lead this mob around, and it will wander close to areas that are dark enough to spawn mobs, at which point it will throw a bit of a tantrum. Essentially, it is a living detector for where mobs can spawn. That is what the Glare is for. One important thing of note regarding this ability, in the upcoming 1.18 update, the general hostile mob spawning rules regarding light have been changed a little bit. Instead of light level 7, mobs will only be able to spawn at light level 0. This doesn't apply to skylight, so mobs will still spawn on the surface at night, but any amount of light given off by a light source will prevent natural spawning, so do keep that change in mind as well. The second choice is the Allay, a little blue fairy-looking mob thematically somewhat similar to the Vex, but much nicer and vastly more useful. The Allay is a helpful little creature that can be given an item and will then roam around picking up other items of that type for you. Thanks to the Allay also having a love of music, which as a side note does cause them to dance, this process can also be automated, as they will return to note blocks that they are particularly fond of and drop off the items they've collected. The intricate details of this process aren't decided on yet, but it's been stated that they would likely be able to attribute different Allay to individual note blocks, meaning you could make some fairly complex networks of these little guys running around doing different things. The Allay in particular does seem to have a lot of misinformation going around though, so to clarify a few things that I keep seeing mentioned, they do not duplicate or create items. They are simply a means of picking items up. You can think of them like a floating hopper minecart with a brain. That being the case, they also do not break blocks. They're not going to mine anything for you. They also do not interact with inventories directly. While they have some great potential for farms and item sorting, they are only one component to a design for that kind of automation, not a complete system for it. As for what they can pick up, they essentially have 2 inventory slots. One to hold the item they are given, and another to pick up other items of that type. This means that they can hold whatever fits in that second slot, so that can be a full stack of blocks or one non-stackable item at a time. We'll talk about the significance of that shortly. First though, we need to cover the final mob, the Copper Golem. This is a golem that players will be able to craft out of copper, including a lightning rod, and it will roam around pressing copper buttons. Yes, copper buttons will be added specifically for this mob if it is chosen, and seemingly not otherwise. This behavior itself is essentially a randomizer for redstone outputs. It does have one other unique mechanic as a result of being made of copper, and that is, of course, oxidation. A copper golem will gradually oxidize over time, much the same way regular copper blocks do, and if it fully oxidizes, it will get locked in place, acting like a statue, making it both a passive mob, but also a very unique aesthetic block. Of course, this oxidation is treated the same as it is with regular copper blocks, so it can be scraped off with an axe or will be removed if the golem is struck by lightning, which is fairly likely given they have a lightning rod on their head. Presumably, they will also be able to be waxed to prevent this process entirely. So those are the three options we have and all of the details that we were kind of given about them up front, but I do want to break down the potential uses of each one just a little bit further. I've seen a lot of people claiming how useful each one is or isn't, and frankly I think a lot of people are misrepresenting them a bit, so here is my take on it. I do want to say up front though, I would really like to see all three of these in game. I think that this year in particular, all three of them are really good and would be genuinely good additions to the game, but they are not all equal. Let's start with the glare. It's kind of adorable. It really is. It's also not very useful. To be honest, the only time that I think it would make much of a difference is when you have mobs spawning in your build and you're not sure where they could be coming from. That is a situation that does happen, but it's also pretty niche, and is probably going to be even more so with the previously mentioned spawning changes coming in 1.18. This lack of substantial use is made worse on the Java edition specifically because we have the debug screen where you can simply check the light level of the block you're on. Now, of course, using the glare would be more thematic and immersive, and on Bedrock, where they don't have a means of just seeing light level numbers easily, it is arguably more useful, but even so, it's still not really a game changer. Now, I could see this behavior being improved on in the future. Perhaps the glare could sense nearby dark caves and signal towards them, which would be genuinely quite handy to have. For right now, though, its role would more likely be that of a neat little pet than something that has much impact on how you play. There's just not much to it. The Allay, on the other hand, is all about its mechanics. I've seen a lot of people undervaluing this as being no better than just using a hopper, but in reality this one actually brings us some unique perks. One significant thing of note is the ability to pick up any non-stackable items. This is something that has always been a hassle in automation, and while we found some ways of doing it for certain kinds of items, the Allay would give us a functionality we just straight up do not have right now. It's also just generally very versatile, giving us a way of collecting items within a range instead of using really contrived or messy collection systems in more complex farms. An easy example of this would be amethyst farms. The budding amethyst is a difficult block to work with because it can't be moved. So farms are often a tangle of both pistons and hoppers going in every direction, and they will generally have a lot of shards they simply do not collect because it would be too difficult. The Allay could make those farms both easier and more efficient at the same time. Based on a comment from Ulraf, it's also possible that they could be useful out in the world. This isn't an officially confirmed feature yet, but if they do follow players around, and if they do have a decent range, they could be useful for something like collecting gas tiers while out in the Nether, for example. For me, the Allay is the least visually interesting of the choices. I find the other two much more thematic and interesting looking, but by an absolutely enormous margin, the Allay are also the most useful one. You could create an entire base centered around their mechanics. I can easily see a build designed to be full of Allay flying around in all directions, doing different things for you, even utilizing their AI to create a form of wireless redstone for activating things. Though, like any entity, they will likely be prone to causing lag if you overdo it, so you also can't go too overboard with them either. As for the Copper Golem, I love this one aesthetically. I've always really liked the idea of having small golems that do something in our bases, and the copper aesthetic is one I am personally quite fond of. On top of that, the idea of them oxidizing into statues is both really cool in general and also gives us a very unique building option, so I can see a lot of appeal in this choice. That being said, they aren't particularly useful, and I think a lot of players who don't do much with the technical side of the game have been sort of overstating the value of the Golem's button-pushing mechanic. Frankly, it just isn't that big of a deal. We have a menagerie of other ways to randomize signals already, including ways that give us more control over it. Though it would of course be the best looking way to randomize something, and it could be worked into your builds as such, so that's kind of cool. I can see a little bit of potential here for making them walk to different areas by opening or closing access to the buttons, which could be a very cool detail in a base for sure, but there's also a good chance that their mechanics won't allow that to work very well, so it's kinda hard to give them that right now. Given they have also attached the addition of copper buttons to this mob, that is another big plus for them though, as copper buttons by themselves would be a nice addition for detail building, and they could potentially have some unique uses in redstone by giving different signals depending on their oxidation level. I could see the uses of the Copper Golem changing if it were added to the game as well. It could be given more interactions with different blocks, or there could be some way of better controlling the Golem's AI so we could utilize it in a better way, rather than just simply roaming around and pushing buttons at random. With what we've seen so far though, it's a great choice for aesthetics and for building, not so much for redstone or being useful mechanically. So those are my thoughts on the mobs for the upcoming vote. I would love to hear what you think about them. Having spent quite a bit of time looking through the public opinion, it is pretty mixed, though it does seem pretty heavily in favor of either the Allay or the Copper Golem so far. Also, if there's a facet of one of these mobs that I have somehow missed, be sure to let me know. I tried to convey the benefits of each as best I could with what little we were told, but if I somehow overlooked something, I would really like to know about it, and I would also like to be able to pin that so other people could see it as well. With that, I think we're good to go and ready for the mob vote tomorrow. I'm not sure yet if I'll make a video on the event itself or not. I've done so in the past, but I'm not entirely sure just yet. I guess we'll see how things go. For those wondering, yes, I am still trying to make videos. I'm actually working on 3 different videos at the moment, to varying extents, but I still very much struggle making something I feel is good enough, so I'm not entirely certain when those will see the light of day, or if they will just kind of fall aside halfway through, as has happened so many times. Anyway, the details of that are a conversation for another day. For now, I'm going to call it here. Hopefully you gained some new insight into the mobs of the upcoming vote, or at least helped solidify your choice for your favorite. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.